This is a Think Live Be production.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm so happy that you're here with me.
We're back, everybody. Sorry for the
I'm not sorry.
month off.
Sorry, not sorry. It's not been a month.
I think it has.
It has not. The last episode was, I think, December 20th. So it was the holidays.
It was.
We took some time to enjoy the holidays.
We did.
I hope you did too.
Yes, absolutely. People,
listen, you need to take time sometimes away from work.
Yeah, you have to. Otherwise, what ends up happening is you are just staring blindly into your
screen.
at your computer screen.
Oh, how many times I've done that where I'm
And
just
then
literally like, I would be better off. Like if you ever find yourself just like you've stared at the screen for 20 minutes and you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. It's probably time to take a day off.
Catherine does that a lot.
I do.
And
Well,
I have to say,
I'm currently
close
working.
your computer.
I'm currently working quite a few jobs, and
Yeah,
I mean
no,
all
that's-
in my own business. I don't mean I have
Right. Yeah. She's
other jobs.
She's doing a lot of stuff that
I'm wearing a lot of hats
I
right now.
wasn't going to say that because I don't like it.
Well, I don't.
Yeah. And I know it's been a few weeks, but talk into the middle of that microphone.
Well, I was just thinking this thing is really low, and I didn't want to make a whole racket moving it around. But
Well, there you go.
Okay. Well, we're all set, and I don't know if you looked at the time, but I don't know. We're supposed to be doing something else right now.
Oh, feeding the dogs. Yeah. Well, they're just gonna have to wait.
Well, oops. Okay. But anyways, welcome to our podcast called Seeking the Best. I have a lot of energy today, so I'm going to try and even at this hour, one thing that I will tell our listeners is we do not record this on a consistent schedule because it's one of those things where if you've listened to this before, you've read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I think is what it's from, is there's urgent, important, not urgent, not important, and variation of those in a quadrant. And you have to decide every day what's urgent and important and vice versa. And, all the various scenarios. And sometimes this gets bumped a little bit. So we don't always record first thing in the morning. Sometimes it's in the evening. And so, but today is an evening recording. I'm setting the scene for you.
Mm-hmm. The rain's coming.
There's a storm
We're gonna try to
brewing.
beat the storm before.
Hopefully power doesn't go out or anything.
Yeah.
Nasty storms are brewing. It's dark in here. There's like a dim light lighting our podcast studio. But I've got a lot of energy. And I'm super excited to continue the conversation that we started before the holidays because I had come back from business planning clinic, which is a class. If you're not with Keller Williams, it's specifically a Keller Williams University class, but it applies to all real estate agents because every real estate agent is a business, surprisingly. If you think about it, that sounds crazy. But every person, if you're a single agent, you actually are a business owner. You own your own business. And so you should have a plan about that. Like, how are you going to get the business to run just like any other business owner does? And then, of course, if you're on a team, you still have to have a plan for how you're going to reach your goals within the team. And then if you own a team, I have what I would call two different, I have the business plan and then I have my own plan for my listing job.
Yeah, for your real estate agent job.
Yeah, like I still sell houses. I'm not a 7th level agent. So I have two different plans. But the overarching business plan is the most important thing because it's how you know what to do when you show up to work every day. And
I'm sure that if you asked 100 realtors if they own their own business, 100 of them would raise their hands. And then if you said, do you have a business plan for your business? 5 of them would raise their hands.
I wonder if it's even 5. It depends on the room.
Yeah, of course it does. Yes, that's absolutely true.
Depends on the room.
And for our listeners, how many people start businesses, whether they're starting a coffee house or a clothing store or a restaurant or whatever, and don't have a business plan? How many of them start a business, don't have a business plan, and then end up successful? Probably a pretty small amount, right? So it just stands to reason that if you're in the real estate business and you start your own business, that's what we're calling it because that's what it is, that you should have a business plan as well, and not just wing it every day and say, hey, what am I going to wake up and do today? I don't know. I don't have any real goals that I'm shooting for, and I don't know how to get there. I'm just going to wake up, and that's how people say, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't have any idea how much money I'm going to make. I don't know if this business is the right one for me.
And let me just say that that's the interesting thing about real estate is that there are plenty of agents out there that are probably doing okay in a sales, like if you're talking numbers, they're doing okay. They're doing pretty good even without any kind of plan. But imagine what they could be doing if they actually had one. So those people are they're allowing other people to run their lives, and as they say in Keller Williams and all of the classes that I go to, is that they're living a life by default. Mm-hmm. They didn't plan whether or not they would have a closing next month. It just happened. They kind of talked, they talked to their friend. They went to PTA meetings, whatever the
people that do well during the good times, and then when the bad times roll around, they're the first ones to say, blame everything on the market, say, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore, because it's all up to outside forces onto whether or not they're going to be successful.
I just saw a very large lightning strike, and I
Stay focused.
Hold on, but I thought to myself, is this thing grounded?
Yes, the house is grounded.
Is it though?
Yes.
We live in a very old house.
It's grounded. One of the things we did when we moved in was to make sure that the grounding post was out there.
Did we fix it though?
It's out there. Yeah.
Hold on. So I know that was like on a list of things to do.
Yeah, we did.
Did we do it? Okay.
Yeah, it's done.
Okay. Continuing on. So anyways.
She shouldn't be facing the window.
Put me in a dark room.
We need to switch places.
We need an actual studio. But anyways, so last time we talked about kind of just, we didn't even get very far in the actual business plan, because the way I've always been taught, well, not always, but recently, in recent years, let's call it, been taught to plan my business is to actually start by writing out my budget and both my personal and my business budget, and then what I want for myself. And so we talked about the allocations form, and Pat almost fell asleep. If you recall.
I kind of remember that.
He was like, you lost me. But then we got him back when we talked about like all the fun things that you can buy if you have a successful business.
I like buying things.
He likes things. He's got expensive taste, this one. So we started with that because that's a foundational tool, because you could build a plan that could also not make you enough money to live, right? And so that wouldn't really do you any good. So you need to at least understand how much do you need to survive? How much do you
every
need?
time Catherine hires a new agent on the team, she makes them do this right at the beginning. Because how could you start a new career, and not know how much money you need to be able to live? Yeah. It sounds simple, but a lot of people, and I'm sure some of our listeners, don't do that.
Yeah.
Right? And so the very first thing you have to do when you're starting your own business, because you have to know how much money you can make to be able to have that business.
Yes. So that's where we started, because that's a foundational piece to how do I start a business plan if I don't know how much I actually need to make from it. So then you start there. And then we started talking about the economic model. There's 4 models to a successful real estate business. And we talked about the economic model. And that is how you break down how many appointments you need to go on. How many appointments you need to set, go on, take, how many signed clients you need to take, how many you need to pend in order to close that many sales. And then from there, we started to get into the lead gen plan a little bit, which is the other model, which is like so you know how many appointments you need to set, but like how do you get that business? Like who is that? Where is it coming from? Is a better way to put it. Where is it coming from? So if you didn't listen to that episode, I don't think you have to listen in order. Yes, you do. I take that back. That just contradicted what I just said. The foundational part is the allocations form. So if you didn't listen to the last episode, hit pause, go back to the episode that I'm pretty sure was December 20th and listen to that one. That will set the stage for what we're about to talk about. Also, if you're listening to Seeking the Best. This is our podcast where we talk about, how to be the best we can. And I've been saying this a lot. So I'm your host, Catherine Stelgis. I'm a realtor in Orlando, Florida, and Central Florida, and I've been doing this for 17 years. I actually just looked at an online profile for myself, and it updated to 18 years because now it's 2024. And I was like,
happy birthday.
That makes me sad. But also, it hasn't crossed the actual threshold, but they don't know when I actually started. But anyways.
If your business was a person, you'd be able to vote.
Right? Okay. And this guy over here is Patrick Fatika.
Hello, everybody.
Not in real estate.
Nope.
He is my significant other.
Yep.
And has been with me my entire career.
Yep, even longer.
And longer, yes. Sorry, I always say that and then you correct me. We've been together a long time. And so he's heard me talk about real estate incessantly for this long. And
we to me, though, we talk about real estate incessantly.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. Well, yes, you're involved in the conversation too.
It's not like she's just pacing back and forth.
This happened.
Spouting.
No, but he is truly my right hand in my business, even though he's behind the scenes. I make many decisions after.
It's better that I'm not talking to people.
That's true.
On the team or clients.
People would not like him.
No.
I'm just kidding. You're very personable.
I know.
But anyway, so this is our podcast. We started recording this and I love talking about real estate. I hope you get value from it. And so getting back to the business plan, we're talking about the lead gen model. So this is the second model of the 4. The lead gen model is all about the where are the people coming from? Who are the people that you're setting appointments with? Meaning what are the lead sources? And we talked a lot about that at the end of the last episode of you have to kind of break it down and say how many of these closings, if I want to close, and I think in the last episode we used 25 as an example. If I want to close 25 sales, how many of them are going to be past clients? How many of them are going to be from open houses? And you just kind of break it down. That allows you to then determine, okay, so if I was going to close this many from open houses at an average conversion rate, I would need to do this many open houses. And now you have an action plan that you can start doing. But here's the other part of this is that the lead generation model isn't just the who, it's also the how. How will I get in front of these people? And so there's 2 different components of lead generation. There's prospecting and marketing. And I would like to talk a little bit about both of those because I think people get confused.
People think that's lead generation. They think they just lump everything together into one thing, well, right?
So in kind of, because if you look, and I'm just going to tell you, in most books, it talks about it all as one because the purpose of marketing is to generate leads, but it's not the same as prospecting. And so don't mix up your plans.
Right.
So let's talk about those 2 different, what's the difference? Because this is where I think if you understand this, then you'll better be able to make your plans. So prospecting is proactive. I think that's the biggest key difference is you're actually going out and hunting for the business. It's proactive. It's time intensive, meaning in order to have conversations and contacts and be prospecting for business, it takes a lot of time to call people, to text them, social media message them, reach out to them directly. It takes a lot of time. And it has an immediate response, meaning if I call you and ask you, hey, would you like to do business with me? I get an immediate yes or no. Marketing, on the other hand, is passive. You 100%, you're putting stuff out there into the world and hoping that someone will respond to you.
Which is what most people do and consider that the same thing as picking up the phone and calling, because it's easier, because it's passive. You don't have to directly talk to people, right? So you see people mixing these two things up, but I can tell you that probably the next thing Catherine's going to get into is the numbers of how many people do you need to contact, whether you're contacting them passively or directly. What are the ratios of actually getting leads from that?
I wasn't, but okay.
Right.
You told me not to get in the weeds.
Well, I don't think that we don't have to get into the actual numbers. My point, I guess, is that the number of people you have to get in front of passively to get somebody to pick up the phone and call you back, and for that to be systematic, where it works that way every single time, not lucky. Oh, I got lucky, somebody called, but to where you can have measurable results. The number is way higher than the number of people you talk to on the phone and ask directly for business.
Well, because here's the difference. Well, let me finish with the marketing stuff. So passive, meaning you put stuff out there and hope somebody's going to respond. So you have no way to know. Like, you can use some average numbers, but you don't really have any idea how many people are going to contact you. Like, how many conversations are you going to have from that marketing effort? You have no idea.
Yeah, not until you've been doing it a very long time and are tracking every possible combination of it can you say, oh, my Facebook ads are going to generate this much, or my Google ads are going to generate this, or whatever. So posting it on Facebook so 30 of your friends look at it, because that's how many people actually see it when you post it, because not every single person in your friends list is going to see that.
Well, so imagine the difference here. First of all, let's not get into that, posting to your Facebook page is not marketing specifically.
It's certainly not lead generation.
It has the effect to get in front of people like marketing can. But what it's good for is keeping in front of people that you already know and you're already having conversations with. So it's an extra touch in that relationship because they see you from a different perspective. Like, you might be showing a little bit more, I don't want to say intimate, but like they feel like they know you is the best way to describe it. So it can have that effect that marketing has to people that you already know. But you're not actually if you're not paying for ads, you're not actually getting in front of anybody new that you aren't already communicating with. Right?
Correct.
So, but imagine this, like, I want to set a listing appointment. Like, my goal this week is set a listing appointment. If I can spend my time, I can post to social media and post like, hey, does anybody want to sell their house? And I can reach a decent amount of people depending on how Facebook algorithms are working that day. What are the chances that one of those
couple hundred people
that actually sees the post wants to sell a house or thinks anything of it?
Right.
Or I could get on the phone and call, for sale by owners or expireds who actually said, hey, I want to sell a house, and reach out to those people. Nobody wants to do that. I get it 100%. But my point is that I can physically, like, I know 100% that any one of you listening can go set an appointment if you just spent your entire week calling FSBOs and expireds. But if you posted on social media all week, it is very likely that you would not set a listing appointment.
Right.
And in fact, if you did, it was luck, not systematic.
Right. You can't,
because that's
the
difference between marketing and prospecting.
Right. And so when we were talking about people without a business plan that just kind of do stuff, this is the end, but then they end up with 14 sales at the end of the year. It's like you kind of just backed into most of them, right? It's like anybody can get lucky a few times during the year, and then something else happens and somebody gives you a call and all of a sudden you got 13 sales. But if you want to be systematic with it and build it to where you're doing 50 sales and then hiring, and it's the same every year, and that, where you have consistency, then you don't make posts or send out a random grouping of postcards and cross your fingers and wait for the phone to ring, right? Because there's no way to track that. There's no way to guarantee that. Those are lucky. You're just lucky on them, right? So all of this stuff, the marketing versus prospecting, it's all whether or not it all has to be trackable. Everything has to be trackable. Otherwise, you can't replicate it.
So the other thing with marketing is like we said, you can track it and you might have a good idea what your response rate is, but it's a delayed response. I mean, if I sent out a batch of postcards, I may not hear from the person who's interested in selling. Let's say if we're talking about farming, I may hit the farm, 12 times a year and may not actually hear from one of those people interested in selling for 2 years.
Right.
But I've been spending the money. So that's the other part about true marketing. It costs a lot of money. And so those are the two big differences. And so they always have said, like, you want to be prospecting based and marketing enhanced, meaning you're proactively, your job when you come into the office is you're there to lead generate through prospecting, calling, texting, social media message, direct face-to-face meetings, direct contact with people, because we know that will lead to results because you can have an immediate response on the whatever communication you're having. The marketing part, you have to create plans and then you set it and you let it run. And then that delayed response, it will eventually turn into results if it's being done correctly. Mm-hmm. But that's the other thing I think is challenging for single agents or teams in general is everybody wants to do the marketing stuff. And I say this coming from, I have a degree in marketing, but I got out of school. That didn't make me a marketing expert. I had a degree in marketing. So at least I had some knowledge about what it actually was.
And how to stay organized and how to, yes, all the basics of what to do, how to do it, how to track things, that you should be tracking things, all of that, the stuff that's really kind of second nature when you go to college for something and you learn about it on a daily basis. It just kind of naturally gets implemented. But if you don't have that experience and you're like, I'm just going to do this, and without anything backing up in numbers of why are you doing that? How do you track it?
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. No, that's okay. But so what ends up happening is people want to do the marketing because it feels less scary. It
feel like you're working.
You feel like you're working. It's maybe more fun in certain circumstances. And so let's say I'm going to continue to use farming as an example. So you decide you're going to farm, and you even follow a plan. Like, I'm going to send out 8 postcards, and then I'm going to do 12 more postcards I'm going to do in a community event. And, you've got a plan. You're actually following somebody else's model. It still might not work for you because you may be sending out postcards that have no messaging because you don't know anything about marketing. And the whole point of marketing is that there's some sort of call to action.
Right.
And so if you're going to go start with prospecting, if you're new, start with prospecting, because first of all, it'll lead to results faster. But second of all, you don't yet have time. Like, you need to get into business. You need to get into sales.
Yeah. This sending postcards, what do we just say? Send out 8 for over an 8-week period and then 12 after that. Well, some people, maybe that one person who's interested isn't going to be ready till they get the 11th postcard in the 11th month. So if you're saying, I'm going to start this marketing campaign, be prepared to wait a year or 2 years before you see the results starting to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And is that where you want to start spending money on day one, or do you want to make sure you get all their contact information when you do open houses?
Yes.
Right? Like, that's how you do it. It's this idea that we're just going to send a bunch of stuff off and cross our fingers and hope somebody calls is not how you run a business. That's a very juvenile way of looking at things.
So, and I'm going to just talk about one more thing. Like, so Facebook ads are a great way to cheaply advertise things, but it's like that old saying, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And I don't have this with me. I wish I did. And listen to me, I'm not saying don't do Facebook ads. I do Facebook ads. We've sold business from Facebook leads. But what you need to understand is there's a different way to approach different lead sources as they come in. So when you're creating your lead gen plan, you need to think about what are the top, if you've been in real estate for a year or two, what are the top 3 sources of my business last year? And how can I improve that system and that plan and get more out of those results, or get more out of that plan, get more results out of that plan, versus adding a bunch of other things. Then once you get to a certain level where you've got consistency with the business you have, that's when you can go and say, let me add this new thing and see how this works out, because you have the actual budget to do it. Which we may or may not get into the budget model. No, Pat's shaking his head saying, no, we won't. We might, who knows? But you have to lead with revenue. And this is one of the things I see people do all the time, is that they're looking for, and I've done it too. Again, I never claim to be perfect. You're looking for like, what's the fastest way? Maybe I'll just pay somebody else to do it. I'll just spend this money on this. There, and there's plenty of people who are calling to sell you services. Don't start something until you have consistency with what you're already, those top 3 sources, to the point where you have budget left over to experiment. And
plan on it taking a couple years.
Yeah.
Whatever that service is that you're going to be buying leads from, or whatever it happens to be, it's like, it's not going to work overnight. It's just not going to. And it's like, there's one way to do it. And it's the way that every new agent that joins a team is told to do it. And if you read the MREA or any of the other books that were written by agents who have made it to the top, it's like, you have to start with your sphere, and you have to make the calls, and you have to do the follow-up, and you have to do the open houses, and you have to follow up with those leads, and you have to learn the scripts. There is no magic pill that I'm going to spend a very, very small amount of money in a very short amount of time and get a bunch of sales from it.
Yeah, if it sounds too good to be true, it's because it is.
But there's a lot of companies out there banking on however many thousands and thousands and thousands of people have their real estate license, and people looking for the easy way. There's always somebody willing to sell you something.
I signed up for this service recently. Speaking of, on this note, I didn't put in my credit card information or anything. I just I wanted to kind of get in there and play around to see what it was.
Yeah,
because there are legitimate businesses out there that can help you get more business, right? But don't. My point was just, like, if you're not there where you have discretionary income for other lead gen sources,
if it's going to take away from your other the what you're supposed to be doing, don't throw a Hail Mary and say, I'm going to spend a bunch of money on this thing. All I need is to get, if I just got 2 people from this, then that would pay for it. Yeah. It's like, if you find yourself saying those words, slowly back out of the room.
So I signed up for this thing so that I could get in there and play around. And then I didn't put my credit card information in and didn't really have time to look at it too thoroughly. So I just kind of left it. And then I keep getting these emails, like literally hundreds of emails saying like, I missed a verified lead and enter my credit card information.
Yeah.
And I'm like laughing because I'm like, there's no way that there's this many leads going to this website and putting in their information.
Yeah.
There's no way. And so anyways, my point is just a lot of these types of things, whatever, if you're signing up for a referral service or a pay per deal or whatever the cost is, like just a monthly fee, understand that you need to get a return on that investment. And it should be at a minimum 4 times return. So one deal paying for itself isn't a return on your investment.
Right. And that's important. 4 times.
4-time return.
4-time
which
return.
Sounds like it's kind of a lot. And if you look at your business, or if you look at other people's business and you do the return on investment for like Sphere, past clients, open houses, those top lead sources, you will find you've got like 400, 600, 800 times return. They're so lucrative because they're low cost. It doesn't cost you much to stand in an open house, and you're actually in front of people, so you have a higher percent chance of conversion.
Yeah.
So really think about
those people,
like what
standing in the open house, want to buy a house bad enough to go to an open house. The people that filled out their information on some rando website just wanted to get some information. That doesn't mean they're not interested, but are they as interested as the people that showed up at the open house?
Well, and they're also going to just be a longer conversion timeline.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
So that's the other thing.
They're not ready yet.
I've made the mistake before of spending money before I was ready, I should say, is a better way to put that. I bought leads from a website that I won't name, but Zillow. I bought leads from a website.
You named it.
I know. I was kind of kidding on that.
This was years ago.
Years ago. I don't actually buy Zillow leads now, and they're the whole Zillow Flex, whatever nonsense. Anyway, I bought leads though before I was ready, and the reason.
And what does that mean?
Well, that's what I'm about to explain. So what I mean is, when you do online lead generation, you need to understand that they're 6 to 18 months out. What is your follow-up plan for 18 months? Mm-hmm. And can you really respond to a lead in under 5 minutes?
Under 5 minutes, and then keep in touch with them systematically for 16 to 18 months, not knowing whether or not they're going to buy a house, but still staying in contact with them. So those people that's the hard part, is the keeping in touch. And that's the thing that people are always looking for, the low-hanging fruit, and they don't keep in touch with those people. They want the person who wants to close next week, right? And so those people just fall to the wayside, and that's how you end up losing money.
Well, so it first of all, those kind of things are really expensive. And so you go start spending money on things like that, and you're not prepared for it. You can't possibly convert what you need to make that return on investment, and in some cases not even pay for itself. So you just be careful. Like when you're creating the lead gen plan, you're going to create a plan around the sources that you are going, the who are the people, and where they're coming from are the sources, and the how to is how am I going to get in front of those people. So let's say you wanted to do internet leads. If that's one of it, you've been around for a while, you want to add internet leads as a fourth lead gen source. Okay, so now you need to figure out how much does it cost? How many leads will I get for that price? And what's the average conversion rate for that source? And then I can determine, will I get a 4 times return, assuming I can follow up properly? And then I need to have, what's my smart plan, my campaign or follow-up plan?
What's that going to cost?
And
that has to get factored in. Right.
And can I get speed to the lead? Because that's one of the most crucial parts of internet leads, is you have to be able to respond. I actually was listening to a podcast this morning, and the girl said you have to respond in 9 seconds now. We used to say under 5 minutes, 9 seconds. Somebody else will answer that call if you don't. Mm-hmm. So if you can't meet those expectations, then go find another lead source. We have a episode where I think we tried to get to 100 lead gen.
Yeah, people were disappointed.
They were disappointed because it's like the same old stuff.
Yeah.
No, we listed off a whole bunch though. I don't know if we actually got to 100.
We didn't get to 100, but yeah, and it's like nobody wanted to hear the most lucrative ones. Everyone's looking for this magic pill.
But the point is, if you're going to, that's fine. There is no magic pill. But if you're going to do one of the other sources that might be more marketing based or cost more money, those kinds of things, just make sure that you have a clear understanding of what needs to happen with those leads in order to convert them, and what's the conversion rate.
Right. You want to take a break?
Yep.
Okay, let's take a break.
Okay.
The Think Live Be team is an Orlando-based real estate team with Keller Williams Realty at the Parks. We operate as a boutique-style company with the resources of the largest real estate company behind us. Think Live Be is looking for talented people like you to join our team. If you happen to live in the Orlando area and you're a detail-oriented quick learner, then we might have a place for you. Whether you're a real estate agent or administrative professional, we are looking for individuals who are ready to work hard and ready for success. If you're ready to join the team, visit us at thinklivebe.com.
And we're back.
Hi. So once you decide the who, which one should definitely be your sphere and past clients, I can't stress this enough. I was actually in the business clinic. They did like a survey chart thing, and it showed they basically went to a bunch of top agents and asked, what are your top sources for business? And surprise, surprise, the number one source was sphere and past clients at 41% on average. Ours is 56%. And
for the Think Live Be team,
for your team, yeah. So such a huge part of your business should be those people that already know you, like you, trust you. And so I just wanted to go through like a reminder of how many pieces of business you could get from your database if properly marketed to and communicated with. So how do you lead generate with your sphere and past clients? We'll talk through that in a moment. I have a voice for radio. Sorry. Okay. So if you had, let's say you have 200 people in your database, that's where you should build it to at a minimum. So let's say you had 200 people in your database, then you should be able to get 200 times 0.10 at a minimum, 20 closings if you had a 200 person database. The MREA book actually says it's like 16%, not 10%, but that's even just using that would be 20 closings from your sphere and past clients. So now imagine this. This is your lead gen plan for your sphere and past clients. 4 quarterly calls, 4 social media touches, 12 pieces of direct mail, 12 emails. How many is that?
Was I supposed to be adding that up?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that.
So, that's 4 calls, 4 social media touches. That's 8. And then 12 direct mail, 12 email. That's 32.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then you're going to have, in an ideal world, you have 2 events, which will consist of an invitation, and some sort of text invitation, and an email invitation. So that's another 6 touches. That's 38.
Mm-hmm.
Then you'll have like a home anniversary card or a birthday. So that's another 2 touches. So you're like 30, or you're at 40 touches there.
And how do you get all that information? Well, when Catherine has people sign their paperwork that say they want to work with them, or any of the agents when they sign the engagement letter to say, yes, let's work together, they also have fill out another page, and it's got things like, what's your anniversary? What are your favorite restaurants? And it's got a list of things on there, and all of that gets put into the computer and into an Excel spreadsheet. And so we have everybody's birthday and their anniversaries and all of those things before they've even looked at a house. And it all gets put into the system, and now we've got that forever. And so it's easy to have all of that information. But these are systems that are put in place because there's a goal at the end of the day, not just, I guess I'll show this guy houses and then whatever, and maybe I'll call them someday and see if they want to buy something. You see what I mean? There's a system right from the beginning on the first day. We're going to, this is setting up so that we can send them a postcard 5 years from now for their birthday. Right. So this is when we talk about marketing. These are the things, this is marketing. Right.
Well, so, and so the point is that if you touch, and it's 36 in most books and things, it used to be 33 touches per year. Then it went up to like 36. The plan I just described is about 40 touches. That's how you get people to remember you so that they're actually calling you. But you do have to make the 4 calls every year. Those are the most important parts. That's the lead generation part. That's you looking for referrals, because 20 people out of 200 aren't going to move but they will know people and be able to refer you business. And then,
Right.
by the way, you can do a lot more than that from those 200 people because, like we said, they
It's not
each
them directly. It's
they
all the
each
people they know. Right.
Yeah, if you follow up and
Right.
then the
It's
other
why
part
we
is the messaging. Like when you're communicating with your sphere or past clients or whoever, you've got to make sure that the message is matching those people.
Mm-hmm.
So
What do you mean by that?
well, so at any given time, well, think about like the life cycle of, he kind of went over this in that class. Like think about the life cycle of a home buyer. So let me just kind of read my notes here. I think this will be helpful for everyone. So buyers start with a first home. They're first time home buyers. And it's about utility, size, and location. That's it. And then they move up. Either they're getting married or they're having their first baby. That's the next purchase, right? So they sell and then they buy again. And then from there, they move up again. They're probably both back to work. They can afford bigger house, etc. And then they move again to downsize, or they move again to luxury if they have a
Right.
higher income level, then they won't
They either
necessarily
sit
downsize.
in that house after the kid. They sit there for a while because it's their dream house, or someone gets a big promotion and they move up quickly. But then that first group, their next step, if that's their dream house, is to move away or downsize or something like that.
So just to go back through that, so the first two, the first time home buyer and the growing family, they move 3 to 5 years. So the average person moves every 7 to 10 years, but depending on who is in your sphere, there's a different timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a first time home buyer, they're going to move to that next, like whether they're getting married or they're having a first baby, in 3 to 5 years. And then the next move up is another 3 to 5 years because they've got maybe another baby on the way, whatever. They need that more space, whatever. And then the next move up is going to be 10 to 12 years because then they got kids in school and they don't want to move their kids while they're, in that age range. And then the last move is 22 years. So once they kind of settle in, they're there for a long time. Or they move into that next luxury spot. And then they move to that final downsize or whatever. And then there's also second homes, vacation homes, investment properties. So every person in a sphere list has these needs. Almost every single person has these needs. Even if people don't have kids, they move when they feel like they're ready for that. They need more space or they're making more money. So at any given time, your people are going through different stages in their lives. And so you need to have the right messaging to target those people. That's one of the things that, we're always seeking our best, right? I started tagging people with like the most detailed tags I could come up with. So we have a kind of a ridiculously long list of tags to use for past clients, all the way down to like, do they like cats or dogs? I'm not exaggerating. Do they have kids? It's tagged kids. Because my goal ultimately is like, obviously when I'm talking to them, then it helps to know that information when I'm having a physical conversation because I know what life cycle they're in. But my ultimate goal is to be able to literally, when I'm sending out the emails, to communicate information that they might find valuable based on their interests or their life.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way I can do that is if they're tagged, so I can group them together and say, hey, I thought you might enjoy this event that's for kids.
Right.
I thought you might enjoy our dog photography event. Now, I don't want to send that to cat people. I mean, we do now because honestly, we just haven't gotten to a place where we can be that targeted.
Yeah, exactly. As that list grows and grows and grows and grows and grows, you don't want to be wasting thousands of dollars a year sending stuff to people that aren't interested in that when you could send them stuff that they are interested in. Just by tweaking the number of postcards that go out that month for those people.
Well,
It's like,
well, you have to have, this is where we're not in the organization model yet.
right.
But as a single agent, you can't do everything.
Yeah.
Because you are doing everything. So you can't do all of the fancy things,
Some
which
of
is
the
why
stuff we're talking
if
about,
you're a single agent, you really maybe hone it down to like 2 solid lead sources. Like, this is what I'm going to work. Don't worry about all the other stuff, because that just gets in your way of really mastering the things that you're good at, that you did well in last year and you can capitalize on. But
and don't forget what our numbers said. The number of what the percentage is with your sphere and past clients versus Facebook leads.
Yeah.
Right? That's why we're talking about this, because it's the most important piece. You could make a very, very good living if you sat down on your first day, created a list of 200 people that you know, create your sphere of those 200 people, get all of their information, reach out to them, as Catherine said, 4 phone calls a year, right? The emails, the contacts, the postcards to just those 200 people. And then do what I think we've said in multiple episodes, that first year, plan on doing 2 open houses a week for the entire year. And then there's your other call list, right? And then you start adding, every year that goes by, more and more and more and more people get added to the past client list because of your sales. Catherine said earlier in this episode, this is her 19th year or 18th year in real estate, right? So her past client list is pretty big, right? She's a successful agent. She's been doing it a long time. She's kept all of the information because she's a hoarder. So she was keeping it. She was keeping it even before it was. She knew what she was going to do with it, and so she has a very, very large past client list. You can have that too. You just have to start somewhere. You have to start with 0, like every other brand new agent does. They start with 0 past clients. That's how much you have to covet them and stay in contact with them through the years. You know how many times Catherine, there's a neighborhood in town that she has been farming for years and years and years. And there has been multiple times where she was the listing agent to the buyers and then turned around 6 years later and was their agent in listing that house, because those people's original agent, they didn't know where they were or how to contact them.
that's what we call orphans.
Yes. And there's a lot of them out there because people don't stay in contact. So,
Actually, that's one of the things this year that I want to make sure I do, is reach out to all the orphan people.
yeah.
Because we've had, I should say, and have, because I've been doing this a long time, but there's a lot of people that will be getting out of the industry.
Yeah.
And so when people who bought 7-10 years ago,
when the market was crazy good.
well,
Fast, when there were a lot of people, there were a lot of sales going on. Let's
What
just put
year
it
was
that way.
that?
Let's put it that way.
well, but anyways, point being, 7 to 10 years ago, that most of those people aren't in this business anymore. That's just the reality of real estate. There's a high turnover. And I have had plenty of those things where people just remembered me without me even reaching out. So imagine what you could do with that if you actually had a plan in place for those people. So that's something I've wanted to do, is just a letter campaign. I don't have their emails or phone numbers or anything, but just to remind them, like, I already know your house. I remember selling it the first time.
I've been in most of the houses in that neighborhood.
I tell you what, there is a neighborhood that I've farmed for a really long time. Like, I swear, I've been inside like 90% of those houses. Like, it's crazy how many of those I've seen.
If you were to look at every house and then go to the neighbor on either side or across the street, there's a guarantee that she's been in one of those houses.
It's true. But anyways, back to the life cycle of a home buyer and when they move. So at any time, there's people that are having these situations. So when you're having conversations, you can be specific with people, and you can also make these marketing messages. So I'm just going to read off, because these are some of the notes that I took during the class that I think are valuable. So, who do you know that's about to buy their first home? Who do you know that's getting married? Who do you know that's having a baby? Who do you know that's looking for a larger home? Who do you know that's retiring? Who do you know that's looking for new construction? Who do you know that's looking to move up into a luxury home? Who do you know that's looking for a vacation home? Who do you know that's interested in investment property? And then he went on to even, who do you know that's looking for commercial property? Who do you know that's looking for land? Because we can still help with those things. Those are things, though, that it's not just who do you know that wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. That's the script that we say all the time. But who do you know that has these needs? So when you're talking to your sphere, or anyone for that matter, you can be more specific. If you're talking to first-time home buyers, they probably have friends that are first-time home buyers that are in that same life cycle. And you can say, who do you know that's interested in buying their first home? And that's going to resonate a lot better with them than...
Yeah. So not to be confusing, you're not asking yourself those questions.
Oh, yeah.
You're asking your
other
sphere
people.
and
That's
other people. Who do you know? You're not speaking to yourself. Who do I know that wants to do these things?
And there's also messaging that you can send out. And I mean, in like a postcard, a marketing piece, if your sphere is largely, families, I'm just going to kind of talk generalities, but like, let's say you're 30 years old and you just got a real estate license a couple years ago. So your sphere is probably mostly people of the same age, which would be either first-time home buyers or maybe having their first baby if they're having kids young. Because I consider that young.
Yeah.
And
this is strictly for if you're a newer agent, because as you are in the business for 15, 16, 18, 20 years, you've got everybody.
This is true, but I'm just saying,
but
like,
not just starting out for sure.
But you tend to, like, circles happen, right?
Yeah.
You get referrals and you tend to work with the same type of people over and over again to the point where you kind of have this like
you do
target.
get a lot of parents though.
Who I do?
Yeah, like you get a lot of people and like their parents.
Oh, yes, like older people?
Yeah, well, like you'll sell a house or...
And then they let me work with their parents?
Yes, that happens a lot.
They refer me their parents, I should say.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, and I think it's because, one of the largest groups of people that are moving right now are people in that age group, right? So it's only natural that's a good point. If you've got somebody if your sphere is typically like 40s, somewhere in your late 30s, early 40s, their parents are probably moving. They're at that final house where they're either downsizing or they're buying a second home. Yep. That was the last one I did, was they were buying a second home to be closer to the daughter who's getting to the age where, they're hoping she gets married.
Right, yeah.
So these are the conversations and these are the ways that you can build out marketing to people to target them, so that your messages are about real estate, but more specific than just the typical agent is doing. That's where you create the value there. That's why this year I wanted to do more like seminars, because again, there's not a better word for it, but to be able to have messages that I think the people that are largely in my sphere and past clients would value.
Would be interested in.
Yeah.
Right.
Like investing in real estate, buying and selling at the same time, because they're all at this life cycle where they're ready to get into that second or third big home.
It wouldn't have made sense for Catherine's second year to try to do a seminar on investing in real estate.
Yeah.
Because none of her sphere was at a point where they would be doing that. And the first time homebuyer one is the most famous one that you always hear people, I want to do a first time homebuyer seminar. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there's a reason for that. But you're also competing because it is so cliche that you can real easily get lost in the minutia of all of that, and it maybe needs to be a little more specialized.
Well, that's why the one we're doing coming up is top 5 mortgage hacks, so that anybody can appreciate it, but it was targeted to people that maybe don't have any knowledge in that department and are considering and starting to think
Catherine's
about it.
An expert on that. She's always working those numbers on those mortgages.
I thought of the best idea recently. I won't get into it.
Yeah, they don't need to. No one needs to know your
my secret
your
ideas.
Secrets.
But my point is, like once you do things a few times, you're like, ooh, what if I did this? What
Yeah.
if I structured this like this?
I mean, that's how.
And then I came to Pat and I was like, I got to tell you about this really cool idea I had. And then he was like, what is it? And I said, it's about mortgages. And he
I
was like, oh my
I
God.
thought it was going to be something cool. That's true. That actually did happen just like that.
But anyways, that's all I've got to say about the Legion plan because it's time.
Because it's time for what?
It's time for our next.
I know, our next section.
Yeah.
Smooth transition.
Ladies and gentlemen, the question you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Questions from the web. Brand new agent here, trying my best to keep with it and not feel too overwhelmed. So far, I've done 6 different open houses on top of a bunch of calls to my team's pond. And I have been getting extremely little results despite following scripts. For the open houses, I asked people how long they've been looking, if they were looking in this area in particular. I answer questions they might have about the home. I ask if they're looking to make an offer or just keep shopping around. And then I ask if they already have a buyer's representation. So far, everyone says they're either, quote, still just looking and then don't contact me, or they're already working with someone. I'm trying to do as many open houses as possible, 3 a week, until I have people who are willing to work with me. Do you have any advice on how to convert open house guests into clients?
Well, first of all, it sounds like you're on the right track. How long did they say they were in real estate?
It just says brand new.
Brand new.
So
Okay.
I think they've only done like 6 open houses.
Okay, so let's assume you're doing 3 a week. That would be 2 weeks into the business.
Well, I think that's what they're starting now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so let's say you were doing one.
They're probably like 2 months in.
Okay, so 2 months in, you most likely wouldn't have much success at that point, because things take time.
Yeah. Slow and
takes
steady,
time.
baby. Slow and steady.
I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that you are truly doing everything and executing the plan. But I will say that most of the time, that's the issue, is that if you're on a team, they've given you scripts and you're practicing and you have access to leads. So congratulations on that, because most people don't even have anyone to call every day. And you're doing open houses. You're doing all the right things. It's just, you have to understand that, you know, an average person coming into an open house, if they don't have representation yet, that means they're just getting started and they might not be ready yet. So what you have to do is keep following up, and you have to keep following up until they are ready.
It's what we were
and
saying.
providing value about the market and how you can help them.
It's what we were saying the other day about agents where people, the buyers aren't ready yet and you're trying to close with an appointment. And it's like you're just getting a nibble and you're reeling at 1,000 miles an hour, reeling the line in, and you scared the fish away.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're not ready, and this is something that's going to be hard because you're brand new and you don't know how to read it yet and stuff. But chances are, if they're in an open house, they're not ready to make an offer and they don't have representation. They are not ready to make an offer tomorrow. They're just looking still. They might not even be ready to set an appointment with you yet. They might not have even talked to a mortgage person yet. They might not even know if they can afford a house. Now, these are all questions that you can help them answer, but you just have to stay in contact with them and continue to call and continue to stay in contact, because the other agents that were at the other open houses that they went to are going to call them once, and they're never going to call them again. And you have to be the one who calls them back so that they go, oh yeah, I know you. I remember you. And then they will set the appointment. This is a long game.
So, agree with everything you're saying. And everything is a long game. Everything. We just got done saying, there is no magic pill. If you don't, now you can get a quick business, but like if somebody's just like there and they're like, okay, sure, that's luck.
Yes.
Now you were there, so you took the right action, but there's every now and then there's going to be that person that's just like, oh, sure.
They're just ready.
But you can only get that when you do things consistently, and then the rest shows up over time.
Mm-hmm.
It's that,
and that's
simple.
that's where success comes from, and not just getting 12 sales a year.
Now I will also say, that most of the time though, it's executing the plan. Like maybe you didn't actually call them as much as you were supposed to, or you've only called 2 times. And what you need to understand is that it's 6 calls in 10 days will have a 90% pickup rate.
So did you
6
call them,
calls in 10 days? Did you call them 6 times in 10 days? And if you've only called them twice over 3 weeks, that's your problem.
Yeah.
And then if that's your team's plan, maybe go to them and say, hey, I
know I'm brand new and you've been doing it for a while, but let me tell you what my ideas are. That's always great to hear.
I know, but I'm kind of kidding. But I'm sure that whoever the team leader is can help look at what you've actually done.
I wouldn't worry.
See where the issue is.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry yet.
And then you also
you're already ahead of most people.
Well, so you also have to understand that an average conversion rate for an open house, a good conversion rate, I would say would be like 10%. Mm-hmm. An average conversion rate is going to be like 5.
You're brand new.
So yours isn't even going to be 5, but let's even say it was. That would mean that you'd be needing to you would need to have met 20 people. So if you look at those 6 open houses and you don't have 20 registrations,
individual people, not couples. You can't count a couple as 2.
So if you don't have 20 contacts that you're reaching out to from those open houses, it's likely that you won't set an appointment because you don't have enough people.
Right. And that it averages it to that. So it's not like, oh, I got 20 people, one of these will. It's like at the end of the year when you've called hundreds, it will average out to that. So you might need 50 people in order to set an appointment.
Yeah. I was actually having this conversation today. You either have to improve your conversion rate, which will only happen over time, where you are consistently practicing and doing the open houses and seeing what works. That will only happen over time. Or the only alternative is to talk to more people. So if you've done 6 open houses and you haven't actually met 20 people that registered, signed in, you're following up with, then you need to do more open houses.
Which is what they said. Yeah, it sounds like that's what their plan is. So right on target.
Yes. So now think about it like this, though. I don't know what the average number of people coming into your open houses is.
Just use ours.
Well, so it used to be 5. Okay. And then towards the end of last year, it kind of started to go down and it was like 3 at one point. So if you did 3 open houses, you would not have enough people.
Yeah.
And then you do 6 open houses, you'd still not have enough people. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's awesome. It's a great plan and it will work if you keep doing it and you keep practicing your scripts and dialogues.
Don't say this isn't working. I'm going to start doing this now instead.
Yeah.
Because that's the death nail.
That's what I remember having a conversation. This was years ago, but my team leader asked me if I could talk to a new agent because they were struggling with open houses. And so I gave him a call and I asked him like, well, how many have you done and what's your follow-up plan? And
blank stare.
I don't even remember who it is. I don't know if they're still in real estate. I don't remember because it was just a one-time conversation, but it was like 2 open houses. And I'm like, okay, how many people did you meet? It's like, oh, I had a couple registrations. And what's the follow-up plan? I don't know. I called them and they didn't answer. They didn't call me back. Okay. Well, there's like all of your problems. You didn't do enough. Which means you didn't have enough people. And then you had 0 follow-up plan. And so therefore you didn't convert anything. And then that was the other thing is I said, well, why not do more? And I think he said something about like he decided to start door knocking and he wasn't having success with that either. And I said, well, how many doors have you knocked on? And you get my point.
Right. And if you would have known what the numbers were of passive, I mean, door knocking is basically just a really long drawn out, takes a long time to do sweaty postcard because they're random people. You're just
God, that's hilarious.
You're just knocking on doors.
Door knocking is just a long sweaty postcard.
That's all it is. It takes a really long time. You can't.
I don't know that that's 100% true, but
you're going to get a slightly better numbers than you would than just sending random postcards to random people.
Yes, because you'll have
face-to-face conversations. But
I just love that though. I remember that.
I mean, I guess it's really weird when we hear door knocking because we live in Florida and 9 months out of the year it's 1,000 degrees outside with 200% humidity. But I guess if you lived in some beautiful place in Maine, in the summertime, you could go knock on doors and not sweat your butt off.
So I have two other thoughts on this. So one thing is just when somebody says they're just curious, like what they're saying is, I'm just curious about real estate. So you just have to have a question.
Yeah, why would
prepared.
they just be looking?
I'm just looking. Oh, okay, great. What are you looking for?
Yeah, there you go. There's your open-ended question.
Open-ended question, get them talking. And then the other thing is, and so you can offer.
I ask if they're looking to make an offer. What's that? Hey, are you looking to make an offer? Yes, no. Close-ended question, right? Do you already have a buyer representation? What's that? Close-ended question. Yeah. Yes or no, right? So my advice to you is to stop close-ended questions and start asking open-ended questions. Get them talking about what they want instead of yes or no's.
What, when, how, where.
Yes.
Those weren't close-ended. But anyway, so that's one thought. And then the other thing is you can when somebody says, "Oh, we're just looking," you can say to somebody, "Oh, okay, have you seen anything else? What other houses have you seen that you've liked? Are there any other homes that you want to take a look at?" You can ask somebody, would they like to look at other properties? Because even if they say, "Well, yeah, we're going to go look at some more this weekend," that's a perfect opportunity then to attempt to set an appointment, because now they've given you the in to say, "Yeah, I'm actually interested in real estate right now." And then the other thing is, besides I think the person said they asked how long have they been looking, which is an open-ended one. But what you don't know right now is why are they just looking?
Right.
Like they are looking, right? Why are they just looking? But I don't know if we talked about this on this, or I listen to a million podcasts and read a million things. And so the word why, like that, try not to use that as an open-ended question, because it's just the connotation is a little weird and it kind of is a little too intimate.
We did talk about that. Yeah.
So,
you wouldn't ask why.
Did I use the word intimate in this podcast twice?
Maybe
3 times now. But anyways, so don't use the word why. Like, don't say, "Well, why are you looking for a home?" It's like none of your business. But say, what has you interested in looking at homes right now? See the difference there?
Mm-hmm.
What has you interested? What has you out looking today? You just want to get them talking so you learn more about their situation, so you can see if you can help them in some way and provide value. And it's not all about making an offer on the open house. In fact, it's almost never about that. And that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. Small win. Catherine, what's your small win this week?
Okay. I made crepes.
Oh, yeah.
And they were delicious. And I feel like I really did a good job with them.
Yeah, this is one of those times where I got Catherine a Christmas present for me.
Yes, Pat, he got me a crepe pan and a crepe recipe book.
Mm-hmm. And I said, go figure this out and get back to me.
And so I set a plan that I was going to make crepes this weekend. And then I read the book, like read every, all of the instructions on the best practices, blah, 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 during the week before the weekend came. And then I made them, and I thought they turned out really
they turned
delicious.
out great. They turned out, perfect. Just like you would get in a restaurant.
Uh-huh.
Perfect. So let's do that again.
Okay.
And then my small win is obviously we are done with, we're into the new year and done with Christmas. And Catherine and I took 2 solid days this past weekend and put all of the Christmas decorations away, put them in their plastic bins,
Mm-hmm.
and then the most important part, brought them all into the attic
Yes.
and organized the attic and stuff so that everything is back to normal, because I hate having like little things left to do, that it's all finished and back to normal. It's sad to see all the Christmas decor go
it's
away.
It's so cozy
but
in here. I love
yeah.
Christmas. Our house is I
do
would
it-
brag about it.
Yeah,
Our house is beautiful at Christmas.
It is. We do it up. It looks very, very nice. And the only thing left now are all the poinsettias, and those will stay until
They die.
until they die. Right. So that's mine.
Okay.
Hey guys, remember to rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps new listeners to find us. Send your questions from the web to onseekingthebest@gmail.com. Leave us a Spotify voicemail with your questions and we'll play it on the show. All info's in the show notes. And for Kat and myself, thanks for listening, and we'll figure this all out next week.
Bye.
This has been a Think Live Be production.